1, 2, 3, 4.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On this, our 97th episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we discuss the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and play. I'm one of your hosts, the Brazilian Mountaineer and Transition Ninja, Lucas Ham Swisher. Also with me, the judge, jury, and executioner of fake news and spoilers and Long John Silver's Patrick Novosel.
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
So last week, I kind of poo-pooed Hamilton. And all week, I am thinking about this movie, show, play, whatever. And I ended up watching this past week. And oh my gosh, this is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Nice.
Like
you have been redeemed.
Top to bottom. I just had to train my ears for the rap because was not ready for it. I did not know anything about this, but going into it, I was like, no, I can't do this. I watched like the first 20 minutes of it, and no. And then you know what happened after the first 20 minutes was that King George song that we were singing pre-show, and I'm like, what? If I would have listened to this on my first playthrough or watch through of this, I would have definitely
playthrough.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've gotten the platinum trophy after you did your second playthrough of Hamilton.
Yeah.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks.
You are
Great.
the platinum king right now. Now, the person who did not poo-poo on this, I almost said game, on this that musical, on his left and my right, our final member of the GMG Quadfecta, since the volleyball and beast of the East, Ronnie Johantges, is not with us tonight. He's got music in his heart, Doctor Who on his brain, and La Coretta in his old stomacho. The master's switch flipper himself, Marc Boucher.
I did not poo-poo Hamilton. Quite the opposite, in fact. And I'm telling you, subtitles.
Wait, what is the opposite of poo-pooing? Is it pee-pee?
Yeah.
The opposite of poo-poo is pee-pee?
What?
I mean, isn't it?
How did we get
Is that
here?
not it?
Why? In fact, how do we always
I saved
get
that
here?
just for you, Mark. I knew you'd love that comment. All right. Let's hold up. Before we get into more shenanigans, there's more, because we have a special guest with us who will help us maintain our quadfectiness tonight. That's a real word. Look it up. He's a master of when to hold 'em and when to fold 'em, with a refusal to grow up, which works out since he is one of the hosts to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast and a founding member of the MTD Street Team, the one, the only, Spencer Stapleton.
Shenanigans incoming. Pat, I cannot believe you poo-pooed all over Hamilton. I am glad you have repented of your evil, sinful ways and joined those of us in the holiness that is Lin-Manuel Miranda and everything that is Hamilton.
You know, like I understand Lin-Manuel Miranda and his genius of the Hamilton now. Like at first I'm like, I didn't know what to expect, you know? So it was, I'm not a theater goer. I don't watch plays, you know, these plays are not in my realm of things I want to do, like video game movies, things like that. But you know, like, yeah, I'm so glad that I watched it, because I would be kicking myself if I didn't end up watching this. So yeah.
It's a touchstone type of event. It really is. It crosses over genres. It can touch anyone and everyone, whether you're into theater and musicals, whether you're into rap, or whether you're into history or not. Like, it doesn't really matter, because there's something for everyone. And I gotta say, I think it's amazing. I've seen it on stage twice.
I'm jealous.
And now I can watch it from my couch. It's on nonstop in our household right now.
Yeah,
wow,
well,
that is impressive.
What's crazy about this Hamilton? It's not just rap. I mean, there's ballads, there's hilarious songs like from King George, and they go from like Eminem style rap to Shaggy style rap to like Busta Rhymes style rap, and I mean it is all over the place just from the rap genre. And yeah, it was very eclectic in their song choices. So it's great.
Yep. I also want to say thank you guys for having me on your podcast tonight. I appreciate your willingness to allow me to sully the Good Morning Guys podcast, and hopefully you won't lose all your listeners. Hopefully you'll retain a few after this is over.
Some have
No,
already
so
left.
far
but
we're
that's okay.
looking good. we got like 3 listening right now.
Mark's
so-
already left. He's like, no, I'm gone. I'm
Yep.
out.
I was like, Spencer,
Well, welcome,
what?
brother.
No, I'm done.
Mark, I'm joining your podcast, Mark.
What you doing, Mark? You recording?
Man, this is exactly what I expected. Just knew it. I had good feelings about this, and yet to start it out talking about Hamilton is, I'll have to be honest right now, I'm feeling like the fourth wheel because I have not watched this beautiful musical. I have not downloaded it on Swisher Plus.
I was gonna say Swisher
maybe
Plus.
next
You
week
need to look
I
that
will
up.
be with you guys. But yeah, I'm so far out of left field. But what's ironic, I'm glad you guys started this way because it totally encapsulates this special moment because we have like a Married to the Games reunion, community reunion right now. The 3 of you know each other personally. Pat, Mark, and Spencer, you guys have hung out at least once?
Yep.
At least,
Right?
Yeah.
I think only
at least
once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay, so Mark only
No.
once.
by happenstance, Spencer and I ended up in Disney.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Vacation together.
Same week.
Oh, that's right. You guys were stalking each
Sorry,
other.
I
remember
only hung
that.
out with you once.
Yes. Yes. We did share a house for a weekend back in
You did.
2018.
Eating pancakes together, swapping manly
Eating
stories, all
pancakes,
that good
Pop
stuff.
Tarts. Sleep actually I don't think really happened a lot there. At least not for me. So
Yeah, y'all
Not
came
on
in.
your
you
venture
had,
there.
You had that horrible flight issue.
Yeah, let's not relive that. It makes me cry a little on the inside every time I think about it.
Well, moving on now.
Well, for those out there in the joiners and folks that don't know you like I don't really know you, even though we've chatted on, MTTG, Discord, and that kind of stuff, I've listened to your podcast a few times, but other than that, I need to know more about you. So why don't you share with me and the joiners a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living, when you got into podcasting, those kind of things, just a little to bring people up to speed. Maybe on your family
Sure.
too would be good, just to name a few
Yeah.
things.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
see
also
here.
that.
So, that's actually awkward because my dad is dead,
Oh.
so he doesn't do anything.
Apologies.
Thanks for bringing it up,
I'm
Mark.
sorry.
I'm gonna cry now. No, he's been gone almost 20 years. Like, relax. So
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Yep. Bye, Mark. Hope
But,
you find your dad. Oh wait,
so
that doesn't work.
my name is Spencer Stapleton. I am the founder of the Fortress of Nerditude podcast and co-host along with my brother-in-law Matt Shaw. I started listening to the Married to the Games podcast, somewhere around like episode 104, and they're, I think, around 409, 410 episodes in now. And that's kind of where I ended up meeting you fine gentlemen. I work, well, right now I work from home, but I'm in the IT world. I'm a regional system administrator, so I manage pretty much most of everything in the IT world for my business. I've been doing IT work now for about 15 years. I kind of fell backwards into it. I always intended to be in like public relations and advertising. And then through a series of kind of unfortunate events, I lemony-snicketed my way into IT and out of the other public relations advertising. I'm married. I've got 2 crazy boys, Charlie, who's 7, Jackson, who's 6, and they keep me on my toes. Funny enough, like this week, like right before I recorded my podcast, I was in the basement doing some prep work, and I hear this huge, crashing sound.
Oh,
And
no.
I knew something was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I go upstairs and find out that they had been fighting or wrestling or horseplaying, and they had ripped the sound bar off the wall, including the mounts off the wall, and damaged drywall. And I was just like, I wish the circus were still here so I could sell my children to the circus. But enough said. I got it all fixed and whatnot. We were fine. But like these boys, man, they keep me on my toes day in, day out. And it's a little different now because with all the things going on in the world, I'm home, my wife's home, we both are normally in the office, and then the kids aren't at daycare or school, so they're home. So we're all kind of stomping all over each other's feet, right, left, and center. Let's see what else about me that the joiners may not know. I love to laugh. I love to have a lot of fun. I try not to take myself too seriously because that's just not as fun as making fun of myself and others and doing stupid, goofy things. I felt super bad when Marc messaged me originally and we were kind of kicking some ideas around and he said, "What about this idea?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to do that, but I don't feel that type of emotion often enough." And so like it's hard for me to feel shame and embarrassment. And I was like, "Yeah, you may want to use someone else because I'm just going to tell you about all the dumb stuff that I do that I don't care that I did." But yeah, grew up in Chicago. I lived in the Midwest for most of my life, and now I live out in Utah, around the mountains. Yeah, what else do you want to know? I can talk forever.
Don't you Twitch stream?
I do. Thanks, Pat. Yeah, I do stream on Twitch. I just had my 1-year anniversary this last weekend.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I kind of started it off as a lark, just to like let's have an excuse to schedule game time throughout the week, because I found I was having a harder and harder time getting to play games, because if I don't have a schedule, I tend to find myself in trouble or doing other things or getting involved in stuff I have no business starting a new hobby in. And so I started scheduling time to play games and started streaming and having a real good time. The super friends come out and hang out with me, and we just have a lot of fun and do silly stuff. And lately they've been making me sing and do, wear silly hats and do voices, and it's just all sorts of shenanigans.
Nice.
Shenanigans
Nice, man.
everywhere.
Shenanigans, yep. Mark, shenanigans.
That's what we're all about, is the shenanigans. Well, before we get into any more shenanigans and talk about what's new news, what's new in our lives, what's new in the world, got some housekeeping where we offer towels, we put mints on your pillow, and also tip you off to the things you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. So coming up, GMG 100 is just around the corner. We will be doing our second spring break. We'll do our
so
second,
close.
It is live stream of the show ever through YouTube in a few short weeks on Saturday, August 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 10 p.m. my time in Sao Paulo, Brazil, or 2 a.m. in Portugal and some other European countries, just to give some time options for you joiners.
It's like, do you have a lot of Portugal listeners?
We actually
We
do.
got at least 2. Hafa and Joanna.
Look at that.
Joanna.
We need to double check
2 a.m.
Scotland time. Is that about the same time? I think it is.
I think so.
5-hour difference. So yeah, it might be 2 a.m. there too.
Yeah. So
we have
1
a
or 2
listener in
a.m. for.
Scotland.
Yep, that is true. Well, we will be doing a pre-show about 19 minutes early at 8:41 Eastern Daylight Time, so feel free to join us then. I will be there, 8:41. Don't be late, anyone else. Once we start the show promptly at 9 p.m., as we always do, we'll be celebrating those past 99 episodes that we have enjoyed so much, talking about our favorite moments as hosts and joiners, answering questions, discussing many topics driven by you, and also each making personal and GMG-centric announcements about the show and our Discord community for the next 100 episodes, God willing. Also, we will be giving away merch and prizes and continue to talk about the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and play. So, live on YouTube, Saturday, August 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Be there or be square.
All right.
Oh, man, that would have been a perfect transition to our topic. I should have saved that. Square like a nerd.
You could come back to it.
I could. May I'll circle back. Also, I did mention Discord, which is on and popping right now. We do like to connect with our joiners and continue the conversation beyond the podcast. It's easy and free to join, easy to access on your smartphone app or web browser of your choice, and it's a good mix between Twitter, Facebook, and a forum, except everyone is nice and will not all look at you like they want to kill you. We talk about everything from
What Discord
video
servers
games.
are you on that people look at you and want to kill you?
Dude, have you
Hey,
been
man,
on the
go
Last
easy.
of Us 2 Hater Squad forums, or at least seen pictures of people that have posted a little bit of Last of Us 2 hate, not to get ahead of myself? Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, so let's be real careful on Last of Us 2 spoilers.
Don't worry.
'Cause this guy right here is still working his way through it.
It's
Oh,
all good.
nice.
I am
Where are
too.
you on there? How? Oh, well,
I-
so how many hours have you played so far?
Ooh, I'm 25 hours in.
Okay, all right.
We're probably close to
And-
each other.
I'm on day 1, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you've been slow playing it a little bit then, right?
I look for everything.
Okay, yeah.
So I take my time because I understand that if I can find all the collectible stuff on the first playthrough or the majority of it, then when I go back and have to replay the game, I just have to go far enough that I can get all the things to, max out all the equipment and
Sure.
learn all the things or whatever. And then I'm done and I don't have to play a full playthrough. So that's kind of my goal now.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Nice.
Okay.
Well, on our Discord, we are definitely talking about that, The Last of Us 2 for sure. I am avoiding it like the plague because, like Spencer, I have not finished it yet. But we're also talking dad jokes, sharing real life together, praying for each other. Check out the link in the show notes or on our Twitter, where you can connect with us at the GMG Podcast. And then last but not least, feel free to rate us and review us on podcast services of your choice. Somehow it helps us reach a wider audience or gives much needed feedback to get better and keep doing what we do. We are currently sitting pretty at 38 reviews, but if we can reach 50 reviews by episode 100, all 4 of us will do something crazy.
I will
Which
shave
we
my
will-
beard.
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, baby.
Whoa.
I was going to say which we will update you on later, but apparently Patrick is going to shave his beard.
On
If-
episode 100, I'm going to shave it.
Sweet. I will not be shaving my
Joiners,
beard.
go smash that review button
Yes,
right
for sure.
now.
Smash it.
I will not be doing that.
Come on, let's see it. But yeah, so pretty much it's going to get crazy if we can reach 50 reviews by episode 100. It gives you a few weeks, couple weeks. But
What
yeah,
are we at?
jump on there.
37? Something like that?
No, we're at 38. Thanks for listening.
38, Mark. 38.
For listening.
He literally just said 38.
But yes, if you could just give us some stars, 5 preferably, write a nice but honest review, it would really help out a lot. So then you
Listen,
can
I'm
see
not
the
running at
craziness.
100%. You need to leave me alone.
It's all good.
You were
The
Do you
craziness
ever?
will unfold.
Okay,
more
maybe I'm
details
not
to
even
come.
running at like 93%.
You know what would really help right now, Mark? Some Dunkin' Donuts coffee, man.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
great
man.
idea.
Yeah,
You should get some Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts coffee.
We can pause. Just go get it. We'll pause right now. We'll
America
wait.
runs on Dunkin' and Mark, so can you.
Oh, I do.
All right.
I do.
So, since
Literally.
we're already off the rails, let's jump into what's new news with you guys, what's been going on. We are going to lead it in a little differently this time around and try to share updates from this kind of context. What has God or life been teaching you over the past week that you just, I don't know, whether it's something that's been happening, something you've been going through, what have you been learning in the past week through life? We're going to start with Patrick
Oh, no.
because he's looking
Meh.
ready.
Yeah, so this quarantine has brought our family a little closer together. So we've been doing a lot of things more with the family. So it's teaching me that family is most important, and like we have a lot of devices and vices that keeps us away from family. So one of the things that that my daughter and I did today, we had a daddy-daughter day.
Nice.
And we got together and she put makeup on me. She painted my nails. I don't know if you
Ooh.
can see this, but I got some
I
pink
noticed
fingernails
that.
right now. Yeah.
And I was like, what? No, are they? No, I'm just going to leave it alone.
Life choices, Mark. Life choices.
Yeah, just
I'll
like-
leave it alone.
moments like this, like it's a blessing in disguise, because this quarantine really hasn't affected us as a family. I still have a job. The kids were able to go to school from home, and my wife is, a stay-at-home mom, so it really didn't affect her too much. So yeah, it's been really nice, and that's kind of what I've learned this past week. I'm also on vacation this week, so I am not working, so I have a lot more time. So I'm devoting a lot of my day with the kids. And then at night playing the games, obviously. But yeah, I'm not playing games during the day this week, which is kind of difficult for me because I love just getting in a couple levels here and there. But this week I made it a point to not play games during the day, just so I could be with the kids. Because you can't get those days back. You can't get that time back. So might as well
that
take
time
advantage
will
of
be
it.
Gone, and yeah,
Yeah, got to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
For sure. How about you, Mark?
So this past week, I mean, it hasn't been too crazy in terms of things going on. It's been very status quo. But the one thing that I think has been a little bit of a struggle is me doubting myself and being down on myself, and second guessing my abilities, which obviously God has given me those abilities. He's the one that's provided, but there are things that have happened that have really made me sort of just kind of like, am I really good at this? Is this something that I really am strong with? It's just made me doubt my own abilities, and so thankfully I realized no, that's a lie. And plus I'm human. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. There's only one person who was.
yeah.
And I have to realize those are all of those things are just attacks, and I just need to do the best I can with what I've been given. So that's really the thing that I've been learning in this past week is rising above those doubts in myself, because I tend to be my own worst critic a lot of times. So that's been the biggest thing in my job, being a worship and a youth leader at church, and in my abilities as in my 9-to-5 job, and even in my abilities as a husband. I can only be the best person I can be, and I'm still going to make mistakes, and I'm still not going to be perfect. So I just have to trust God and rise above those things. So, yeah.
Well, to bring it on a positive note, your Apex skills were top notch this past week.
Yeah, they were. I saw that video.
Every so often they come out a little bit.
so much better than mine. So much better than mine.
Well, you know what would fix that?
Me being better at the game? Yes.
Well,
you're right.
also you
Practice
playing.
makes perfect.
We miss you on Apex.
I think I can honestly say that practice makes perfect works if you actually get better at something.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just practicing with futility.
Yeah.
Which is how I felt about Apex.
Okay.
I loved that game, and I loved playing with all of you. It was so much fun. I never felt that my skill level ever really improved, and I felt like I was like, I'm a good third wheel. I can help out here and there, but I'm not pulling us across the finish line anytime.
Yeah,
Well,
Spencer,
I
I know
thought you did
exactly
just
how
fine,
you
but-
feel. That is, that's how I felt. Actually, taking a step back, all the way back in Halo, which is probably the last time that I played a multiplayer, like for a long
Oh,
time,
yeah,
with a
yeah.
bunch of guys back in college, and I never got better. The only thing I was good at was using the pistol as a sniper, like as a sniper weapon.
Yep.
That was it. I never got better
Back in the
at
day,
anything.
you could do that in Halo.
You could. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But that's all I could do. So I totally understand you're getting better at being bad at the game.
Yep.
I respect it. But yeah, we had a pretty good week in Apex for sure.
Yeah,
we
you
did.
saved the day. Don't be downplaying it, man. I
Oh
watched
my
the video.
gosh.
It was on our
Yeah,
YouTube channel.
I went down. It was.
I
two
was
squads
looking
left.
around at the YouTube channel and trying to move around some stuff, and I saw this video with a bunch of numbers. It was like Apex Legends 057227001111. I'm like, what is this? I clicked on it and watched it, and it was Patrick and Mark doing a match. Patrick gets killed, and then it's just Mark against two dudes, and Mark, you owned him. I was like, yeah, baby. And you guys pulled out that win. You guys had a hot night that night, didn't you?
We did. We played, I think, 6 games. We won 3 of them. We got second place twice and fourth place once. We were on fire that night.
Yeah, you were.
Usually we play like 15 to 20 games because we die quickly.
Yep.
But that night we only played 6 games, and it was a really, really good night.
Yep, and then it went downhill from there. But, it's okay.
There's always hills and valleys.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Typically for us, like if we get maybe a win or 2 a night, that's like bare minimum. Like, okay, it's a good night. And even the nights where you walk away and you just don't get a win at all, and everything's been frustrating. It's still fun, and obviously we come back the next night and torture ourselves again. But
Yeah, exactly.
but I mean, it's still a lot of fun. But what I am looking forward to, because pretty much all I played in the past week is Apex, obviously, but I am looking forward to Ghost of Tsushima coming out on Friday.
Oh yes.
Because that looks amazing, and reviews on it look amazing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But that's been pretty much my week. Very, very status quo.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad to hear it. That and we all have those times when we have doubts, and the difference is that you're not alone, brother. I know it feels like you're alone sometimes, and that those doubts can plague you, but greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And Christ has given you strength, and we're right there behind you, man. You got it. Spencer, how about you?
Yeah,
man?
yeah. What Lucas just said. Me too.
Amen.
Thumbs up.
Now the joiners can't see your thumbs, but don't say double thumbs up and then not give them.
It was too low. Sorry, my camera's a little higher.
You got to milk that cow. Just get it out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Double thumbs up.
You've never seen that where you turn your thumbs upside down and then you milk the cow?
I don't know this Brazilian thing of which you speak.
I'm
no.
from West Virginia. That's where it originated.
Well, that's even worse. No.
Yeah, it is really even worse. You were right about that. All right, so Spencer, what's life? What's God been teaching you through your journeys and gaming and whatever else you've been up to this week?
Well, I don't know that God ever speaks to me through gaming per se, but this week I'll kind of go back and circle back to the whole soundbar ripping off the wall incident.
That's a good one.
I was frustrated, obviously, because I knew I was going to have to, fix this. But I was also angry because I just had a conversation with the boys about, being cooped up and having so much energy and trying to get them earlier in the day to go out on the trampoline and run around in the yard and this and that, try to burn some of that off. Boys will be boys, right? Mm-hmm. And I had this moment as I was kind of rehanging the sound bar where I was thinking okay, how do I want to handle this? Because when it happened, I immediately looked at him and said, both of you go to your rooms. You're both in timeout. I don't want to hear or see from you for the next 10 minutes. Go. And they did not complain. They did not whine, which is very unusual. I think they saw, hellfire or brimstone in my eyes at that
Saw
moment.
your vein kind of pop out on the right side of your head.
So, but they're upstairs, and my wife says, what do you want me to do? And I said, honestly, they still need a shower. Can you just go get them in the shower and get them into their pajamas? They're going to go to bed early.
Dude,
and
you missed a perfect chance to just hose them down. Just spray them down, pressure wash them. Really bring the pain.
The point though that I'll eventually get to, because I do this, is that I was taking this moment. It took me about 45 minutes to get this thing fixed and back up and adjusted and whatnot. But during that time, I had a moment where I just went, okay, I can handle this one of 2 ways. I can go upstairs and I can just be angry still, Or I can take a big deep breath, I can swallow my anger, and I can look at this as, how can I use this incident? Because the boys know they're in trouble. How can I use this incident to try to teach a lesson to them? How can I prevent this from happening again? Or at least, try to help it. And I went upstairs, and they knew they were in trouble. They both came over and immediately said they were sorry. They had showers and were in pajamas. And I said, that's okay. Hop up on your beds. Before we do prayers and sing songs, I want to talk with you. And I spent the next 10 minutes having a conversation with them. Granted, remember, they're 7 and 6. So I had to kind of keep it to their level about the fact that everything in our house costs money. Our house costs money. The food we eat, the clothes we wear, all cost money. And their mother and I have to work really, really hard to earn that money in order to provide for them. And that we happily do that, but that that's our hard work. And if they don't take that seriously, and they don't respect our things and respect our hard work and effort, then that's just insulting to us, because we're trying to provide them with the best things we possibly can.
Yeah.
And they kind of, they're 6 and 7. They sat there and I said, do you understand that everything, the blankets you're on right now, the bed you're on right now, it costs me money? And Charlie kind of looked at me, he's my oldest, and he said, well, Dad, did you make just one big payment for the house? Like, did you just give them one big check and now we own the house? And I said, no, I have to send them a check every month. And I have to continue to pay. And when you break things in the house, I have to go to the hardware store and get things to fix it, which still costs me even more money. And I said, I want you to understand that everything we have is off the sweat of our brow, off the hard work of our shoulders. I said, and that we do happily, but we have to respect that. And it was this just wonderful moment, because I understood that they understood, if that makes sense. I could tell that they were getting it. And I literally, after I walked away from that, I felt better because I took a moment to just calm down and say, how do I need to approach this? How do I need to be a better husband and father in this moment? And not just fly off the handle, because they're never going to learn anything. And so for me, it was this thing. It was an hour-long kind of escapade on Monday night, literally right before I needed to start recording my podcast. But it was also a moment where I got to remember my purpose in being here right now is not to do all the fun little things that I do. It's not the Twitch streaming. It's not the podcast. It's not playing video games. It's not listening to music or whatever. The reason I'm here right now is to try to raise these boys to be responsible men when they get older. And I need to remember that and try to keep that in my forethought, that everything that I do, every interaction I should have with them should be helping progress them towards the point of being responsible adults. Now, they're 6 and 7. Who knows what'll really happen? I'm probably going to fail, and that's okay, but I'm going to try my hardest, and I'm going to use everything I have inside of me to try to get them across that finish line, and then let them take it from there. So that was kind of the thing that I really kind of took from this week so far.
That's awesome, man. And for sure, you have a higher level of patience, and God definitely used that moment better than I've done in the past. Because let me tell you, I remember the first time, like when my son was first pulling himself up and able to grab like the entertainment unit, and I remember him pulling himself up when he was like, I don't know, 6 months old or 7 months old. He was a big kid, so it took him a little longer to get there. But I remember him taking his fat, chubby palm and just started slapping the screen of our big screen TV. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And like, there was a split second where I started to lose it. And I'm like, okay, he's 7 months old.
Right, exactly.
And then I'm pretty sure like a couple years later, I caught him with a micro machine car, a Hot Wheels car, and he was driving it on the surface of the screen of the TV. And again, had a flashback. And I grabbed that car and I was like, you are not playing with the car the rest of the day. Get away from the
a
television.
year earlier, Lucas, my boys were playing with lightsabers, and they were slashing the lightsabers across the TV.
Oh, that stresses me
I did not respond the way I responded this week a year ago when that happened. It was immediate screaming, "What are you doing? Get away from my television! Stop that!" And and then I spent like the next 4 hours trying to buff out the scratches that they put on the screen. Because I was like, I'm not a rich man. I'm not going down and buying a new television for a few scratches. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to buff it up. I'm going to make it look as good as I can, and we'll move on. But like that, no. That was not I was calm, cool, and collected moment. That was if I see you in my sight, I'm taking my shoe off and throwing it at you type of moment.
Yeah, that's when you
Which
go,
I didn't really do.
Oh, yeah, not at all. Sorry, Mark. Just so you know, they'll break your stuff.
I had an experience just two days ago. Maybe it's 3 days ago. Clark wanted to take his Kindle outside, and I'm like, "No, buddy, you can't take it outside. It doesn't have a case. You're gonna drop it. If you drop it, it's gonna break. So let's not take it outside." And he was making a big old stink about it. So my wife was like, "Just go ahead, just take it outside." So I was like,
no,
okay, whatever. And about 45 minutes later, it comes to be bedtime, and I go out, and I'm gonna, I'm just walking over to the neighbor's house, and he sees me, and he's all excited, just running over. I guess he was gonna tell me something, and as he's running over to me, he trips over his own feet. He has the Kindle in his hands, and he falls like knuckle first on the ground, and his knuckles are like a little bloody because he had fallen like full force on his knuckles, and then he just looks up at me, and I'm like, "Hey, you're okay, buddy. Let me take a look." And so I grab the Kindle out of his hands, and I turn it over, and the screen is cracked, shattered. And no. I look at it, and then I show it to him, and he starts crying. Not because his knuckles are bloody, because he just ruined his Kindle. Because, I told him, you take it outside without a case, it's going to happen. So, I didn't get mad. It was like a I told you so moment. And so we brought it in. I took the memory card out of it, and I threw it in the garbage, and he lost it. Absolutely lost it, because the Kindle, it wasn't like just one small scratch. I mean, it was a spider break, and I tried to use it, and it was like part of it was like raised a little bit so you could cut yourself on it. So I was like, well, this is gonna go in the garbage.
Yeah.
And then so we put him to bed, and he's hyperventilating, impossible for him to go to bed. Because his Kindle, that's how he watches, the YouTube and the Disney Plus and whatever. He plays Crossy Road or some other games. He's got Minecraft on it. He plays that too. So he was more sad that he wasn't able to play Minecraft than anything else. But it was I told you so moment. So that he probably won't take it outside anymore. Now that he knows that can happen.
You should have kept it. Make that his outside Kindle.
Well, no, it's
it's like, here, take your outside Kindle.
Yeah. Make sure you wear gloves when you use this.
Oh, that's right. It had the glass. Never mind. I don't want your son to bleed anymore.
But his birthday is coming up. So he's going to get a replacement for his Kindle. And it's like, because we got some small things. We haven't really got him something big. So this would be his big thing, and he was going to be pretty pumped. We've already gotten it. It came yesterday. But yeah, like I did not respond like with fury. It was more like, idiot, I told you not to. But
Patrick, this is a great learning lesson for Clark and for you. Spend $15 and get one of them cases so they can't break it when they drop it, man.
He does have a case. He did have a case.
He took it out?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, he's on his own then. No sympathy. He's on his own.
Got nothing. Spencer
Sorry,
cannot
Clark, man.
him.
Sorry. I tried, Clark. I tried.
It didn't work.
I tried to put it on your old man's shoulders, but nope. You're on your own.
I'm going to play this podcast back for him in like 10 years. Like,
that's right.
This is right here.
See, even Spencer agrees with me. You were at fault.
Daddy, who's Spencer?
Don't you remember? He's that guy we went to Disney World with. Oh, right.
Nice. Well, for me, God has definitely been teaching me a whole bunch of patience and a little bit of perspective, which is ironic given Spencer's story and then Patrick's story. Both of those stories, I definitely would have lost my cool. I think now, after my kids are 10 and 7 years old, my daughter's 10, my son's 7, and I've gotten a lot better at like stopping and like, okay, wait, hold, that kind of thing where it's just like, it's all there. You just gotta hold, you just gotta wait, it's gonna go down. And for the most part, I'm good. But I've definitely been tested this week. And God was preparing me. Like I have a devotional book that I go through that every week it has a theme. It has like a title. And below is like scriptures and readings and stuff. And this one just said patience. That's all it said. Patience. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. Because that as soon as you read something in the Bible, as soon as you're starting to learn a lesson, God's going to be like, all right, time to apply what you've learned. And it's not always very fun. But that's what's been going on in that area. So in the realm of streaming, Spencer talked about his 1-year anniversary. I'm coming up on a consistent 1-month anniversary here in probably a few days.
Happy month anniversary. Happy month anniversary.
Yeah, happy. It's like back when you
month anniversary.
Back when you quote unquote dated or had steady girlfriends back in middle school and high school, and you celebrated your 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. I'm in that lame stage of, hey, 1 month, woo.
My girlfriend and I just hit our 1 month. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, good, great.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you do gotta start somewhere.
Lucas, wait, what?
I was just gonna roll with it. I was like, yeah,
happily
cool,
married
man.
for 11 years, no girlfriend.
Yeah,
I will play this back
since,
to your wife from 10 years from now. Like, hey,
sadly,
there were some signs. I don't know.
Yeah, sadly, that joke will not surprise her.
Not even the slightest. But yeah, so I've been reminded of how much patience is important to streaming, because there are times when it can be very lonely, especially for me, because I usually Twitch stream between the hours of 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning, which is 6 to 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And so most of my American friends are asleep, but I have had the chance to connect with some European listeners, which have been cool. I've connected with Prime out of Scotland and chatted with him. That's stupidly epic for those that don't know the Prime name, because apparently I didn't discover it till he joined our Discord that he also went by Prime. It's funny, he joined our Discord and I was like, who's this Prime guy? I just invited Stupidly Epic. Where is he? Why did he not join Prime yet? Or not join Discord yet? And it was Prime. But yeah, so I've been doing the streaming, and sometimes it's been a little lonely, been a little tough, but Prime's joined me. Hafa in Portugal, he's joined me as I've been playing Dead Cells, been working my way through XCOM 2 still. Side note, Mark has a really stellar Spider-Man outfit right now. Not outfit, more like a suit that has a grappling hook so he can snipe people from roofs. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I'm digging it.
Yeah. And then Patrick has an exo-scoot? No. An exo-scooter? No, that's not what he has. An exo-suit.
Scooters? I know about scooter.
Yeah, I know. I'd give that to you,
Mark
Mark.
have one.
I'd give you the scooter. But no, you have an exo-suit right now, which pretty much makes you a walking tank. And then you have a plethora of like grenades and exploding devices, rocket launchers. So you just pretty much blow everything
Beautiful.
up. It pretty much fits you to a T. So it's good stuff.
Nice.
And then Dead Cells, of course. But besides those things, I think I already mentioned Dead Cells, which I have for the past 8 weeks. So it's not a big deal at this point. It's like white noise.
Hey, Mark, what game is he playing right now?
He's playing Dead Cells. And
Okay,
also
so I want to make sure
XCOM.
you're still awake.
Exactly.
Yep, I'm here.
Perfect. He's still listening.
38 reviews. Yeah. That's
Yes, 38.
Yes, 38. Not 39. So one thing that was kind of a payoff of the patience of having multiple days of sometimes it was just me, sometimes it was just me and Prime talking together is I met a 14-year-old kid by the name of Rasmus. He's from Denmark, and he was chatting with me while I was playing Dead Cells, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, can we party up and chat audio? And I don't know if you guys have had this happen on a stream before, but I have not. And at first I was like, I don't know how to respond to this. but something told me that I just needed to say yes, and so I did. And I pretty much was like, hey man, if you can keep it clean, we can chat. If you can, we don't want to talk about this, that, and the other. No shenanigans on the stream, because I've been burnt in the past by people jumping on a stream and then writing like racist stuff or vulgar things. And so he gets on the chat and we start talking about everything from Dead Cells to gaming to life, death, family, faith. We talked about all kinds of stuff, and he was asking me questions about Christianity, asking me questions about sharing his doubts about God, sharing his doubts about the church, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. It was like a 45-minute, an hour discussion, and it was just really incredible. And it just made me kind of just step back and be like, this is one of the things that is really cool about streaming, be able to connect. I would never be able to connect with someone in Denmark randomly in any other context, but somehow in streaming, this guy jumps on and is just like, hey, let's chat. And all of a sudden we're talking about faith and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. And
that's cool. Nice.
Yeah, I've had a couple moments where I've had some like real personal interactions with people while I've been streaming. And it's different than if you were just like normally playing some game, right? Because you're trying to keep your chat exciting and you're trying to be personable and entertaining, right? That way if people jump in, but at the same time, like, you have an opportunity to have like a real conversation with someone, and sometimes you just don't know if you're going to be the person that says the thing that they need to hear. Not that necessarily, you're doing anything right, but just your life experience, the way you're going to look at the world, respond to things, may be the way they need to hear it at that moment, and can make a profound impact upon them. And so that's awesome that you had that opportunity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was incredible, and definitely a surprise. Another surprise that I had, and again, something that stretched my patience, was my adventures with my kids in Minecraft. Now, I think, Spencer, do you play Minecraft with your kids? Or do your kids just play it? I know your kids play it because I remember you talking about it on, on your podcast.
My kids play it. I Google things and then try to help them out from their shenanigans they get into.
Nice.
They created this netherworld portal that I helped them create, and then they created a netherworld portal inside the netherworld, and then they couldn't get back to the original portal. It took me like an hour of Google searching and figuring this thing out to get them back to the normal top side of the world. So I don't play Minecraft. I don't understand Minecraft. Jackson, my 6-year-old, though, is becoming quite the little Minecraft expert and figuring things out and showing his older brother Charlie, which is good because I'm not going to knock it for those that are into it. It's just not my thing, though, and I do not want to... Listen, I only have so much brain power, and I'm getting older, and it's going fast. I don't want to put a lot into that category of things. Yep. I got all sorts of other silly stuff I need to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I totally get it. And sometimes I've had that similar experience where I've been with my kids and I have to all of a sudden go into support mode because they just totally get themselves lost. They've turned themselves upside down. Like I've been telling stories for I feel like it's been the past 2 months just because we've been playing so much Minecraft. Like, that's one thing I like about it is you, with your kids, if you play it with your kids enough, you get these stories and these adventures that you go on. And it's hilarious. Like my kid, last week I talked about how my kids pretty much sabotage each other. My daughter ended up, tricking my son into killing himself, and then karma bit her in the butt, and she got killed in the nether realm trying to dig up too much stuff and falling in lava. It was just like, hey, that's what you get for tricking your brother into killing himself. And it's crazy. And my kids are like addicted. Like they are head over heels. It's what they live, eat, and breathe. Like at the dinner table, you look at them, the first thing out of their mouth is, I have 50 iron ingots. And that's the only context they give. They're just like, hey, Mom, I went to the nether. And she's like, where is the nether? So like they give her no context whatsoever.
Right.
So I've been trying to teach my son like, okay,
is this
son,
something I need to be worried about?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on here?
Yeah. So it's like I was teaching my son this week, hey buddy, you need to like start with either sharing, a compliment to mommy, and then warning her that you're going to talk about Minecraft. Don't just say what you have in Minecraft. It doesn't make any sense in the real world. You need to sandwich it.
So that conversation is going to go like this. Mommy, you look really beautiful. By the way, I've got 17 iron ore and 76 clay. Wait, what? I said you look beautiful first. Dad said that's what I had to say.
That's right.
That's how it's
as long as she just hears the compliment, we're good. But yeah, so and for the most part, that's been really fun until this past week, where I would say the slime. The metaphorical slime hit the fan, and my kids got grounded from Minecraft.
Oh my!
So we've been, this Minecraft adventure all started because we wanted to build my in-laws' house because they sold it last year. My kids were feeling nostalgic at the beginning of this year, and I was like, hey, why don't we build it in Minecraft? So we've been building it. We've got the whole outside structure done. And now we're to the interior decorating. And let me tell you, Minecraft was not made for interior decorating. Either it doesn't exist or it is ugly. And yet somehow my daughter has figured out, by Googling, as Spencer is good at doing, by Googling things over and over and over again. She's made a refrigerator. Now, it doesn't look exactly like a refrigerator, but if you click on it to use it, food pops out of it. It's really cool. She's made couches, love seats. She's made all kinds of stuff. And in all this Googling every day, she's gone from a Padawan learner to a master. On the other hand, I have not become a master. In fact, I realized my expert level stopped at just building the structure. Once we got inside, I'm like, Tasha, what do I do next? And at some point, the tables turned, where before, when she first started playing Minecraft, she would be like staring in the air, spinning around, and I'm like, go, look, give me the controller. Instead, this past week, she was yelling at me to give her the controller.
Oh no!
I was alone,
I'm like,
but now
what
I
is
am the
happening?
master.
And so all of a sudden, she's getting frustrated with me. She's getting frustrated with James because he keeps falling into holes that she's made because she's booby trapping us.
Traps.
Yeah, and she gets mean when she gets frustrated. And it got to the point where Mindy's like, if you don't take care of this, I'm taking it away. Like, I'm taking away the game if you guys don't get your act together. Because, like, all three of us were kind of, like, bickering amongst ourselves. So on Saturday, it was the last straw. And I was like, you're grounded on Monday. In fact, we're all three grounded on Monday. And none of us played Minecraft on Monday. And then on Tuesday, she got to sit with us and watch us play Minecraft for a little bit so that, she could talk us through it, and she did pretty good. Then on Wednesday, she got to watch her brother one more time, and she didn't quite make it because all of a sudden I hear, Tasha, quit yelling at me. Well, James, if you would listen, blah, blah. And they would just yell at each other. And so they lost the chance yet again today. We're going to try again on Friday, but it got dramatic. And again, patience has been tested. The limits have been tested. So God's a teaching, not just me, but my whole family patience, that's for sure.
My dad always used to say, getting back to my dead father, thanks, Mark. But getting back to my what my father used to say, he said,
milking that.
Oh man, of course, yes.
Why not?
I'm not going to let Mark forget this either.
Man, I wish this was a visual podcast that people could watch so they could see Mark's face in his hands right now.
But my dad always used to say, he says, if you want to learn patience, pray for patience.
Yeah.
Because boy, the Lord's going to put something in your path that's going to try your patience.
Yeah, he is.
And I kind of feel like I pray for patience way too often. And so either A, I need to stop praying for patience, or B, I need to learn the lesson. Maybe. But we'll figure it out. Me and my dead dad will figure it out together, Mark.
Yeah, you will.
There are no words.
There are no words.
There are no words. I'm just
I
going
don't know,
to
I have a
retire
feeling
from
that
podcasting now.
What was that?
I said I think I'm just going to retire from podcasting now.
Nope, you're not allowed.
Not
No,
allowed?
we have
Okay.
100 to do.
Yeah, and then we have 100
Then
more
You
after
can retire.
After 100, and after we get 12 more reviews on iTunes.
That's right.
So we're going to shave Patrick's beard and your beard, Mark.
that. Yep.
Nope, that was not
Yep,
part
yep.
of the deal.
That's what I heard. It's joiners. Anyone else hear that? They all agree with me. They heard
Yeah,
it too.
they do.
Yep.
Joiners and super friends. I hear a couple of
Yep.
them. They agree.
The super friends are blowing up my Twitter right now about it, Mark.
You will not get me to sign anything. I won't do it.
Beard shaving time. All right. Let's see. Are there any other updates, last minute updates, before we seamlessly transition into anything?
Not me.
Yeah.
There we go. There it is. I had a feeling there was one more thing.
Yeah. So
Okay, Steve Jobs.
one more thing.
More thing.
So yeah, this past week I have been playing a ton of games. I beat Uncharted
At night,
1,
not during
I
the day.
Oh, of course, yeah. I stay up till 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah, you
to
do.
get my gaming in. Yeah, the kids go to bed. That means I can play for more. But yeah, sleep. I don't get any sleep because gaming is life. But yeah, I beat Uncharted 1. I platinumed that, which was awesome. Minecraft Dungeons. My son and I finally beat that.
Yes.
I'll give more of an update on that next week because I know that Ronnie was close to beating it, so I'm pretty sure
yeah.
that he's beaten it by now. So I want to get his thoughts on that. So
For sure.
we'll talk a little bit about that next week. And then I played Iron Man VR.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I've been looking forward to this game ever since they announced it. And also after the demo, like I was blown away at the demo. So I'm excited. You know, like you were flying around. You have to use like the Move controllers. You can't use like a regular DualShock controller. You have to have the Move controllers. So the Move controllers control the limbs. So the right Move controller controls the right hand and so forth. But what's cool about this game is a lot of VR games, when you are controlling a character, you only see their hands, and it's very independent from your body. The way Iron Man VR is you see your entire arm. So when you're pushing out the arm to blast someone with your pulsars or whatever, you see the entire arm, you see the hand, and you see the blaster. It felt like you were more, I guess, part of Iron Man, or you were Iron Man. So that was really cool to me. The game starts out with a tutorial. You're flying around his Malibu residence, and you get introduced to Pepper Potts, one of his other AIs like Friday, and I think Gunsmith. I'm not sure if Gunsmith is a part of the comic book lore or what, but I don't know if he's new. But he was also another character, part of an AI, and you're just flying around, and you're learning your powers. And what's cool about this is you don't just have those powers. As you go through levels and you level up, you can get grenades, you can get a unibeam that comes out of your chest, you can get all types of things, augments and skills for your, I guess, Mark 1 or whatever it is. Mark 2, I really don't know what Mark it was with this one. But yeah, so I was playing it for the first couple hours, and basically for the first 7 missions, it was a glorified drone simulator. Because you're just flying around and you are just battling drones. And there's a little bit of a story here and there, but it really got good. I think it might have been chapter 8 where the villains start coming into play more, where you're battling them, and then really in chapter 11 is really where it all came together, because there's like 12 chapters. Chapter 11 was when it really came together. And Mark, you were talking about you don't like games that don't have big boss battles at the end. That's like something that you look forward to. This game's final 2 boss battles were epic.
Yes.
Absolutely epic.
Okay.
And yeah, it was awesome. So if you're looking to watch this, I don't know if there's YouTube videos out there for this. It was kind of weird because when I took off my headset, the TV was in like 3 different sections. So it wasn't just a straight up 2D screen. So it looked weird. So I don't know if there's YouTube videos on it, how they would capture that. But the end boss was awesome. Even the epilogue was awesome. It was really cool. I think because the story really didn't come together until over halfway through, I wasn't really interested in the story. I give this pretty much a solid 7 out of 10. It was really cool. Like some of the details in this game, like you're going around the Malibu house, his home, and you can answer phones, you can play basketball, some mini games were in there. And it was cool in that sense. But there's too many drone battles, absolutely too many drone battles. I got kind of tired of those. But once we got to the boss battles and the boss chases and things like that, and just flying around independently, like when you have both move controllers, they can control how fast you go, where you can go forward, and when you're using your thrusters and you look at a certain point, that's where you're gonna fly. So there were times when I was all the way turned around in my room. I'm facing away from my TV because it doesn't necessarily make you have to look at your TV, because in VR games there are times when you can turn corners like by a button. It does like a 45 or 90 degree turn, so it doesn't mess with your head too much. But I didn't use those too much. I actually followed the drones, and I was just spinning around in my room like crazy. In the headset, there is like a little exclamation point when it tells you that you need to turn around because you may get caught up in your cord because you're turning around too much. So that came up every once in a while, and also it says it's better if you played with your headset. Which I didn't like because I didn't know if I was facing towards the screen or not, because there were times when I was actually wrapped around my cord, so I would just unwrap myself. But yeah, there's nothing like every mission starts with you putting on your helmet, and it's so cool. You totally feel like Iron Man. But I would say that the drone battles were bad, and the loading was super, super bad. So, Lucas, imagine having to start up Division 2 and load into the world. How long does that take?
I hate it already.
It takes
forever.
It takes a couple minutes.
Does it get stuck on 9% like it does in Division 2?
No, it actually goes.
Oh, okay.
But every loading into a mission
is like
and
that?
Loading out of a mission is like that. And it took me out of the game, and I got tired of just standing there for 2 minutes waiting for something to happen. So there were times where I would just sit down and wait, or take my headset off and get on my phone and do something else
long?
While I'm waiting for it.
I can't imagine with the headset, like taking it off and on. Like with XCOM 2, it's a really long load time, but I just look at my phone. Or I'm chatting with someone on the stream and whatever, but it's not a big deal.
When I say I take my headset off, I just pull it up and put it on my forehead because it was just so long, and I don't know why it was just so like long. A hat. It kind of made me like want PS5 to be here, where the loading screens are going to be like that. But it was a really fun game. I finished it because I'm getting ready for Ghost of Tsushima. But yeah, I finished it, and I'll probably go back and platinum it. I gotta finish it on the highest difficulty. I finished it on super heroic, which is like the second difficulty.
That's
and
like
then
3 BC or 4 BC.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then I have to play it on 5 BC.
Yeah, that's the next one
to do it. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to have to go through all those drone missions again to do it. Yeah. So I'm kind of toying with that.
That reminds me of like the Batmobile missions from Arkham Knight. Those things were disgusting.
Oh yeah,
sounds just like that. It was pointless and repetitive.
Now, would you say it's must buy? Even though it's 7 out of 10, I'm guessing that's more of a like overall grade for the game itself. But would you say for VR helmet owners, hat owners, would it be a must buy?
Or
a must game?
I don't know. I game flied it, And I don't know what the full price is. I think it's $40. If it was $20, I would say yes, go ahead and get it. It is well worth $20. $40, I'm not entirely sure. It's worth it. Definitely worth a rental. I mean, it's a short game. I think it took like 8 hours to beat. Not bad. But make sure if you do play this game, make sure after you finish the game, there was one more mission that you can go to in the globe. Select the mission. There's a new one. Make sure you do that.
Is it the falafel
cool.
mission?
Yeah.
You eat a falafel.
You're
in VR.
in
The
VR
shawarma mission.
eating some
The
shawarma.
shawarma. Yeah. That'd be perfect. Well, I tell you what, Patrick, you talk about this Iron Man VR game so passionately. You talk about these platinum trophies that you have been racking up like madness. I have to say, you're a big nerd. Like, huge
100%.
nerd, which is perfect because that's our topic of the show. That's right, folks. We are talking about nerd culture, which is appropriate because we have the founder and host of the Fortress of Nerditude. Wow,
that's
could I
what we
screw
call
that
it.
up?
Yeah.
Nurturus of
Nurturus.
Fortitude.
The Nurturus of
Fortress
Fortitude.
of Fortitude. Yes.
Hold on a second. I got to go change my Twitter handle right now.
Yep. Switch it
And
up.
done.
It's perfect. Love it. But yeah, we have a professional nerd with us in Spencer Stapleton, and obviously one in Patrick Novosel. Mark and I will try to keep up, but we want to talk about all things nerddom, nerd culture, past, present, and future. Being a nerd wasn't always so cool as it is now, and we're going to get to that in a sec. But first, I want to talk about your beginnings as a nerd. When did you first get rumblings in your life, like the first beginnings of being a nerd? Maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but when you look back, where do you see the first signs that you were going to be a huge nerd like you are today? Let's start with our guest.
Oh.
Gotcha, Patrick.
Yeah, Pat.
Our guest.
Yeah.
I don't care about what you think yet.
Never mind.
I'd like to defer to Pat and find out what his
yes.
first rumblings were.
Before you go ahead,
go
Spencer,
first.
you go ahead, Patrick.
He's letting me go ahead. I think it was around 8th grade for me. There were a lot of my friends wanted to go out and do things, and I just wanted to stay in and play video games. And that's when I think I knew. I was like, you know what? Like, I gotta get video game friends.
Yeah.
I gotta get another circle because a lot of my friends were, jocks. We did a lot of sports, but I as much as I love sports, basketball, baseball, football, I also had this urge, this want, to play video games. And I've always been a Superman fan, Batman fan. At that time I had no idea what Marvel was, as far as like the Iron Mans and the Guardian, all the new Marvel stuff out now. No idea who they were, but I knew that I loved video games, and I started to, I guess, curate or nurture or whatever you want to call it, a group of video game friends.
There you go.
And we would have like
curated friends. That's an interesting concept.
Wow.
I've never heard of curating friendship.
I grew my friends in a laboratory, yes.
You stand there, okay? You wear this shirt.
My vocabulary is not the best. But yeah, I think it was, and that was around 8th grade. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Spencer, do you want Mark to go next?
No.
Or do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go. It's kind of a dual combination. My father, Mark, my father.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Peace. Love you, Dad. So my father was actually really kind of big and influential in kind of my nerd upbringing, as well as 2 older cousins that I had. So my dad was really into everything like science, and my dad was a scientist. He was a hydrogeologist. So he got a
Nerd.
degree at university in a science.
Wow.
And he loved astronomy. He would, he built his own telescopes. He would take us out to look at the stars, and he really instilled in me like a love of space and NASA and space exploration. And then I had these older cousins, and one of my earliest memories with them was on a Saturday morning. We were in central Indiana. We were at their house, and I got up first thing in the morning, and they said, "Hey, we have something we want you to come watch with us." I said, "Okay, sure." And, I'm maybe 6, maybe 7, somewhere kind of right around there. And I came downstairs, and they had a VHS tape, which they had rented, the VHS machine from the rental place. I know that a lot of people aren't going to understand what that is anymore, but they'd rented it, and they put in the 1978 Rankin and Bass Hobbit animated cartoon.
Oh, yes.
And I watched
Love
that
it.
thing, and my eyes were about as wide as you could get for a kid, and I just soaked that in, and I went, I need more of this. And so from a real young age, like, Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's work had been instilled in me, and the love of space travel and NASA. And so, of course, things like Star Wars, Star Trek. My dad watched all of that, and so he would kind of sneak me out of bed sometimes, let me stay up late to watch, Star Wars with him, or watch Star Trek with him when it was on television. And so I kind of started real young, and it was my older cousins and it was my dad that really kind of got me started on my journey.
Nice.
Mark?
I don't know if I want to talk anymore. I'll say something like, oh yeah, I remember my uncle and oh yeah, my uncle's dead too. Yeah, great, awesome.
I feel empathy for the loss of your uncle. I'm sorry that happened. Would you like to talk about it, Mark?
Good night, everybody. Okay, so yeah, early rumblings of nerddom. Yeah, basically, my dad is a nerd. He was a huge Trekkie and Star Wars guy. I remember he had all the OG Star Trek movies. I can't even remember all the names of them.
The motion picture, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, Voyage Home, Final Frontier, and Undiscovered Country, the original 6?
Yes.
Okay.
All of those.
Yep.
See, I am not a Trekkie. Like I watched them with my dad, but that was never my thing per se. But I would watch them with him. I definitely watched all the Star Wars movies. Know all the names of those. Got those. When I started to deviate a little bit from my dad's love of nerdy stuff was when I started to watch old reruns of Doctor Who on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I'm like 6 or 7 years old and watching those.
Nice.
I kind of sort of toted the line between, okay, what's your normal like childhood cartoon habits that you like, and then I watched Doctor Who and stuff like that, which was never really a kids television show per se.
But that's how it started out, though.
Yeah, it started out that way.
It started out that way. It's not that way anymore, sure.
No. And so yeah, I cut my teeth on the Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor. That was always my thing, watching on the Sci-Fi Channel and all that. But like anything and everything fantasy, I was into. All the superhero type stuff. Like I had tons and tons of comic books at 6 and 7 years old. Anything from Batman and Superman to Spider-Man to even like the still popular but lesser known ones like Spawn and stuff like that. I remember I had a full omnibus of the original like Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I was never really a Turtles guy, but I had that in my possession. Yeah, totally.
But
yeah, just collecting stuff in like that. Obviously, I was a huge Power Rangers fan when I was a kid.
What? When you were a kid?
Yes, and still am.
Yeah.
He's still the Red Ranger.
What year was this again, Mark?
Last year.
2020.
2020.
Well, it started in 1993. It just never went away, and that's the difference between childhood, like being into something as a kid and being a nerd, because it never went away, really.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't have every single Power Rangers thing known to man now, like I did when I was a kid, but, I still have an affinity for the show and still, keep up with certain things, especially now that it is much more mainstream and accepting to do so. Whereas when I was, going from a kid to like middle school and high school where it wasn't so cool anymore.
Dude, you needed to curate your friends like Patrick and I did.
Goodness gracious.
Every morning before
true.
going to school, my friends and I watched SportsCenter and Power Rangers. Whichever had commercials, we would go to the other show, and we would just pop back and forth the 30 minutes before we had to walk to school. Curate friendship, buddy. Get them Power Ranger fans as friends.
Yeah. Too bad I'm learning that lesson now.
Yeah.
Too late, Mark. Too late.
You got Patrick in your life. He's definitely a fan. He's bought all the video
This is
games,
true.
spent way too much money on the Power Ranger games. And
Oh
skins.
yeah, I will buy all the Power Ranger games, even if they are terrible, which they all are.
I say if they're terrible. Yes, when their terribleness
When they're
is
terrible.
discovered. So for me, I totally resonate with Patrick talking about when you realized you would rather stay inside and play video games than go outside. I remember like vividly playing, I think it was Contra, with one of my friends, Josh, and we were playing in the middle of the day. It was summer, 80 some degrees outside. Kids were swimming, kids were playing sports. Like our neighborhood was like, there were like at least a dozen kids that just went up and down the street. We would all hang out, play sports, play games, whatever, like from the age of 6 or 7 up until, high school. And I realized one summer that I was a huge nerd because I would rather just play Nintendo in the middle of the day, instead of going outside. Like kids our age would come in and be like, "Are you going to come outside?" We're like, "No." We finally made it to the
Skellige yet?
Yeah, we made it to the 4th stage. I don't know if it's called
Outside
Skellige
sucks.
in Contra, and I didn't get what Skellige was then, but now I understand what Skellige is. Yeah, so doing that definitely was something that revealed that I was a nerd. And then the other thing is when Saturday morning cartoons went beyond Saturday. Like, it's one thing to just watch the cartoons Saturday morning and then move on with your life, but like 7 days a week, I was drawing pictures of like Ninja Turtles, He-Man, G.I. Joe. My friends and I were buying like action figure upon action figure upon action figure. I had, in the Ninja Turtles realm, I had like 2 full cases, like 5 Leonardos, 5 Michelangelos, 5 Raphaels, the space version, the cowboy version, the samurai version, the normal version, the version where the you press a button and the arm moves up and down in this very like non-threatening way, but it's supposed to be like a kung fu move and supposed to be amazing, and even though it's not, but I didn't care. It was an awesome action figure. And I remember getting those action figures, a lot of them before, like there were a lot of like collectible cards. They had the cardboard cutout that you could get out of the back, and I remember getting like a huge stack of them. And I think I've told this story like a long time ago, but I remember I had the stack of the cards that I cut out the back of the box of each of the, where it's clear plastic in the front. And then it had like the stats in the back. It had like their height, their weight, their favorite things, their fears, whatever. And I had a whole stack of them with rubber bands wrapped around. I remember my room was a mess and I lost those cards for like 20 minutes. And I started to cry. I started to make deals with God. I was like, "God, if you help me find those cards, I will read the Bible." and all that kind of stuff, you know.
If you just
And-
bring back my cracked Kindle, I promise I will be better.
Yeah, that's what Clark needs to do. You need to tell him to pray. Lay his hands. No, don't lay his hands. It would have cut him. That would have been good. But yeah, it was that kind of stuff that definitely keyed me in on the fact that I was a huge nerd. Some stuff that came later, which kind of goes into the next thing that I think we should definitely talk about, and I think we've already kind of alluded to, but our favorite nerdy franchises. Spencer, you mentioned the stellar Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings, and when my dad introduced to me The Hobbit, and then of course the trilogy, the Lord of the Rings with Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King, I blew through those when I was in sixth or seventh grade, and I loved them. And from there, it didn't stop. We didn't have the movies to go to. Of course, you had the cartoons that you talked about from the 70s, which were classic. But my dad introduced me to other high fantasy like Wheel of Time. I loved those things, and those books were huge, and they just went on and on and on and on. And I blew through all of those up until, this was like the early 90s. So Robert Jordan, I think, is the author,
Robert
right?
Jordan. Yep.
Yeah, he hadn't yet finished the series, and then he, of course, passed away. But then eventually, with the help of, I think,
Brandon Sanderson.
Yes, thank you. I knew you'd know that.
Yep.
They finished that up. I've never gone back to to read the last. I think I'm lacking like 3 or 4 books, but man, I love those. But what are the nerdy franchises that you guys love the most, that you nerd out about the most?
Are you gonna call on us?
No,
Or
I was
can
gonna wait because I wanted the awkward silence.
Round
Spencer, who do
robin.
you think should go first?
I knew Patrick was gonna be like,
we already talked about it. Power Rangers, I will eat it up. We're going back to 8th grade. I remember buying action figures, the Power Rangers action figures, and all the Zords. And I was a nerd. I would get all the action figures and I would put them together and take them apart. Make the Megazord, and I love doing that stuff, and I still love doing that stuff. With Power Rangers, that movie came out a couple years ago. They rebooted it, and I loved the movie. It's a bad movie overall, but as a Power Ranger fan, I eat it up, and I love it. There is a fan film that is going to be created by Jason David Frank, who was the original Green Ranger and White Ranger back in the early 90s, between 93 and 96. And he's creating this White Dragon movie, and it was on Kickstarter, and I backed it because I'm like, I want to see more Power Ranger stuff. It's the people that are fans, and they want to make a fan-made movie, and sometimes the fan-made movies are fan service. They give what the fans want, rather than trying to make $1 billion in the box office. These guys are going to put stuff together like have you ever seen the Nathan Drake Uncharted fan film with Nathan Fillion?
Yeah.
yes.
That 15 minutes was a fan film that it was exactly what everyone wanted. They wanted Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, and it had all the mannerisms, the jokes that Nathan Drake would make. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to with this White Dragon Power Rangers fan film. I even go when we go to like Target or Walmart and the kids want to go to the toy section. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the toy section. And I go to the action figure aisle. I'm like, what are the new action figures? What's in the WWE universe? What are the new Power Ranger stuff? And they have like the legendary edition of the Power Rangers, like the new, because the action figures when we were kids were pretty ho-hum. They have that kung fu motion, and that was like the coolest thing, and now the action figures nowadays, they've just put way more detail in it. And then the legendary Power Rangers, they show like it's the White Ranger and the Red Ranger from the old days. It's really cool to see. I know I buy them from time to time for sure. And I got a Darth Vader action figure recently. Got a Kylo Ren one sitting up there. I got a, I love the Power Rangers. Definitely my favorite franchise of all time. not necessarily all the newer things that they're doing, like, because they have a different set of group of kids every season. What was great about the first 3 seasons of Power Rangers is they pretty much had the same cast, and it was the same Zords, and things like that. But now it's like, with it being different every season, it's kind of hard to, get attached to them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Mark, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously in the same boat with Power Rangers. I'm not gonna lie, I've been tempted because they've been putting out like special legendary, collector's items you can get. Like they have a set of the Power Morpher and the Power Coins. And I had a Power Morpher when I was a kid, and I loved that toy. So I've been very tempted to pick up one of those. Power Rangers was my thing, which was cool when I was little, and then it started to, obviously middle school and high school wasn't as cool anymore, and people, guys were, like, oh yeah, it's girls now. It's all about girls. If you wanna meet girls, you're not gonna tell them about Power Rangers. So, I kind of had to keep that hush hush, but yeah, I've always been into Power Rangers. Any type of superhero stuff, DC and Marvel. We'll come back to that because I know there's a joiner question that kind of touches on that a little bit. I was, again, big into Power Rangers and all of the derivations of it. Of course, when Power Rangers came out, there, all these people have to make copies of it and try to make money off of that and make clones like, Big Bad Beetleborgs and there was actually a show on called, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, and it's a mouthful of a title. It's called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Yes.
And
I remember it.
And it stars, if you're familiar with the Lawrence brothers, like Andy, Matt, Joey. Joey was on the show Blossom. But yeah, the middle brother, Matt, was one of the main heroes on the show. And he would get injected into basically the cyber realm. He'd go into a computer and go into like this computer world or whatever, and he'd become this like he kind of looked like Ultraman, if you've ever seen Ultraman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked very much like that. But he could combine with a couple of his other friends. When they'd come into the world, they'd literally turn into these like mechanized vehicles, and he would combine with them and create this huge, basically a Zord.
So they were Power Rangers in the Matrix?
Yeah, basically Power Rangers on like the internet.
Or Tron.
Yeah, and so like all those different derivations of that type of like it's like I'm trying to remember the name of it, the Japanese counterpart for it. Well, the one for Power Rangers is Super Sentai. That's where Power Rangers gets all its footage from, is Japanese material. But all those derivations of Super Sentai and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was big into that kind of stuff. I was big into, obviously, like I said, Doctor Who and Star Wars, and all of those things, and a huge Back to the Future fan as well. Like we've talked about on previous episodes, I was big into time travel. Always, I'm a sucker for time travel movies. So obviously, Doctor Who, Back to the Future, huge on those. Got into my anime phase, where I was big into Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all those things. I remember I printed off, because obviously those episodes of Dragon Ball Z, they aired in Japan before they aired here in the States, and so there were like whole run-throughs of the entire series of Dragon Ball Z that I like literally printed off the internet so that I could read it, because we hadn't gotten the all the episodes here. but I could read the information, and it was basically like I was reading a book about Dragon Ball, what happens on Dragon Ball Z before any of the episodes got dubbed over into the States and things like that. Yeah, I got into a huge anime phase with like I said, Dragon Ball, and there was a series called Tenchi Muyo that I really liked, and the Gundam series, all the different iterations of Gundam, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, lots of big nerdy franchises. I was a huge and it's funny because it comes in phases. Because it was like Power Rangers, then Pokemon was huge for me, then Dragon Ball Z. But yeah.
Spence, you got any other franchises that you want to highlight that were big for you?
I am nowhere in the realm of the Power Rangers, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z. I kind of missed all of that. I was a little older, and that kind of probably came for me after I'd kind of moved into some other things. But for me, my first love always will be Star Wars. I was born in 1979. One of the first movies my parents took me to was a re-showing of Star Wars. At the time, it wasn't called Episode 4: A New Hope. It was just Star Wars. And I was an infant, and then they took me to every movie showing after that. I had the toys. I was collecting anything that had Star Wars on it, lunch boxes, if they had a rubber ball that had a picture of R2-D2 on it, I wanted it because it was Star Wars. So that's really where I cut my teeth very, very early on. And as I grew, my love of Star Wars, my obsession with Star Wars continued to grow. I would buy, they had a book called, I think, the Star Wars Almanac that had a description of every little thing and what it was and what it meant. And I would sit there and just read through it and memorize it because I wanted that if I came across another kid on the playground and he said, what does this, mean? I could be like, boom, here's the answer. Here's why it ties in. This is why it's important. This is something that supports. And I could just have a conversation that I'm sure the kid, didn't really care to know. He probably just saw the movie once and thought it looked cool and knew that I was the kid that knew about it. So Star Wars really early on. Then another kind of big touchstone for me, like I alluded to earlier, was Lord of the Rings. I mean, I got hooked on the Hobbit cartoon at a really early age. But when I got to maybe around 12, 13, my dad suggested that I should go and read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I remember reading it, and I couldn't put it down. I just read it from Fellowship all the way through Return of the King, just in one long, I didn't put any other books in there. There was no palate cleanser. It was just boom, boom, boom. I ripped through it, and I finished it, and I went, this is an amazing story. There's so much going on. I'm going to reread it because I know I even missed stuff. And I immediately started a reread of all three books.
Nice.
And so it was that moment. And I read that series about every 18 months or so. I'll pick it back up, read it through again.
Oh, wow.
It's just, there is something for everyone in that book. But in those books. The interesting thing though was back then at that time, and I don't know how much of this we'll kind of get into, but if you were into something that was considered nerdy, it was a small group of people. There was a small group of people that you knew that was also into that thing you were in. And if you were a nerd, you would have these little different groups of friends or nerd associates, if you will, that you would kind of hang out with because it's these guys share my love of Lord of the Rings, so I can go over here on a Monday on the playground or at school in, homeroom or whatever, and we can talk about Lord of the Rings. But these guys over here are Star Wars guys.
Ironically, Mike Doherty on Facebook had this to say about nerd culture. He said, anything Middle Earth. So he lined up right with us with Lord of the Rings. And then he said, I'm there. Hope you all covered the transition of nerd culture into pop culture the last decade or so. Thoughts on how or why? It's almost cool to be a nerd now. We've had our revenge, and now we're working on reconciliation. Revenge of the Nerds. Nice reference there. So yeah, you've already alluded to it. But yeah, being a nerd back then was more of a lonely, smaller group kind of thing, more intimate. And now it's pop culture.
Right.
Totally
You had to work. You really had to work to get, your hands on stuff. You had to work to find information. If you wanted to get into Dungeons and Dragons, you didn't just go to the internet to get into it.
No.
You would have to go to a local game store, a bookstore, maybe even a library, and you'd have to find a copy of a monster manual or the handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide. If you wanted to know, my friends are talking about this thing, Dungeons and Dragons, you had to go buy or rent, borrow, steal these books, and you'd have to read through the entire thing and then go ask them a whole bunch of questions and then go read more. Like, you had to work for it. And that is not where we find ourselves today. Now you can binge something, you can go Google something, and you can find the answer. When Patrick was talking about his Iron Man VR game and he was talking about Gunsmith, I did a quick Google search and went, I don't really remember. Gunsmith appeared in like a 2008 comic and, had kind of this short run, and he was this AI that kind of ended up being this kind of villainous AI or whatever. I did not know that prior to about 30 seconds before I Googled it while Pat was talking. That's where we're at now. But back in the day, when I was a kid, if you wanted to talk about how Legolas can basically walk on top of the snow because he's an elf, and elves are super light, and how he could run all the way to find the sun and bring the sun back to the Fellowship, you had to have read the book. There's no cliff notes. You're not turning to your friend and be like, hey, can you just quickly tell me? No, you had to work for it.
Yeah, and you didn't just have to work for the information. You had to work to survive socially. Because in school, it was not cool to be a nerd. If you were into that kind of stuff, you would get picked on. You would get made fun of. I remember the kids that, when I was in elementary school, middle school, I was one of those kids that was kind of a chameleon. Like, I was into the nerdy stuff, but I didn't flaunt it. Like, I didn't have everything with me and be like, well, no matter what, I'm talking about Lord of the Rings. It was like, yeah, I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not going to force that on anybody else. I was kind of blending in at the time, so it helped me in the social realm. But there were kids that were like the typical movie, TV show, tape wrapped around their glasses, like snot going down their nose, and they're blowing their nose every 5 seconds and talking about, well, the latest in this comic run of Garfield it's got crossover with Superman and like that kind of stuff, where it's just like, what are you talking about?
Don't mock the Superman Garfield crossover.
I know,
that
right?
was a legendary moment.
It was. It was infamous or famous.
I kind of want to see that.
No, right?
Surprisingly, lasagna is also a weakness of Superman. Huh. Who would have known?
Didn't see that coming, did you?
No, not at all. Well, I think so.
What a twist!
The interesting thing, though, Lucas, you bring up is that you're right. Like, there was a stigma at a certain time. If you go back far enough in history, there was a stigma because you were into something that other people weren't into, and other people didn't understand what that thing was. And so human nature is, if I don't understand something, let me mock that thing. Let me belittle that thing. Let me try to put it down because I don't feel comfortable talking with you about it because I don't know it. So let me try to reduce it and have a very reductionist conversation. And that doesn't really take place anymore, at least not like it used to. No. Kids aren't getting beat up because they're a fan of Spider-Man anymore. That just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. And I attribute it to two things. One is all the nerds growing up are now in charge of things.
Yeah. They're making the money.
So, yeah, and they're creating content for kids and adults alike, because there are way more nerds out there than were when we were kids, only because it is more prevalent. And I think it's because that the nerds have grown up and now they have jobs and now they're running the show. They're providing us content like the Marvel series. Like back in 2010 when Iron Man came out, it was like, whoa, okay, 2009?
2009, yeah, sorry.
2000, okay, so
Look at him trying to
37, 38, whatever it is.
37, 38, 39, whatever. Yeah, sure, Mark.
But yeah, it was at that time. It was a movie that came out that was a comic book movie that no one really knew, and that blew up.
Yep.
And more and more people were like, hey, like I'm not really a comic book fan, but I'm a moviegoer, and this interests me. And that kind of snowballed over the next 10 years of people like, okay, I know all this Marvel stuff. I wonder what else there is out there. And, DC's coming out with their movies. People who are more moviegoers than in the comic books, they're bringing those kind of fans in, and which are bringing more and more nerds out of the woodwork. Like, okay, maybe I am a nerd. Maybe I do need to learn more about this. Let me get the backstories on these things. But I attribute it to those two things over the past decade, going back to Mike's question.
So 2009 with Iron Man was kind of like actually the second wave of this big, explosion. The first one was in the year 2000 with the first X-Men film.
Yep.
Which we just celebrated the 20th anniversary.
Right, yeah, just hit their 20th. Because the interesting thing is that there had been superhero movies before, but they had they'd never been, go back to like the 1994 Fantastic Four film. No, don't actually. But
Batman and Robin killed it
for
quite a while.
Right, so like you'd had some movies that had done okay, but in 2000 with X-Men, they decided that they wanted to tell a comic book story about mutants. They wanted to do the X-Men, but they didn't want it to be so close to the source content that it was going to be, Wolverine in, yellow and blue spandex. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do with all the colorful outfits. So they made this movie and they kept the tones a little more subdued, a little darker, and then they cast it excellent. Just the casting was excellent on that film. They really did. And Hugh Jackman, with kind of the way he portrayed Wolverine as this kind of really cool anti-hero, like he really embodied that character. And people wanted to go see it because they're like, "Oh, Patrick Stewart's in this thing, and we've got Famke Janssen in this, and Anna Paquin, and Hugh Jackman's in this thing." Hugh Jackman's like one of the biggest stars that's kind of up and coming. And it made it more accessible to mainstream. And then it followed up shortly, 2 years later by Spider-Man, the first of the Sam Raimi with Tobey Maguire. And Spider-Man is arguably the biggest comic book character on the planet. Everyone knows his backstory. Even if you didn't read the comics in the 60s when he was coming up, everyone knows that. And now they made this movie, and it was very accessible, and it was fun. And like that started the big wave. And by the time we get to 2009, that Pat alluded to with Iron Man, the ground had 2008. Yeah, sorry. The ground had really been softened.
Gosh.
The ground had really been softened up, where people were more accepting of going and seeing a comic book style movie because they'd seen it done really well before. And I remember I got a phone call from my mom. And she said, "Have you seen this Iron Man movie?" And I knew Iron Man, but Iron Man was kind of like a C-level Marvel character.
He really was.
Yep.
And I was just like, toss me an Incredible Hulk. Give me a Thor, a Captain America, and obviously we got those. But I was like, give me another Spider-Man, even though, the last Spider-Man couple movies. And she said, no, go see this Iron Man. It's amazing. I loved it. And I went, wait a minute. My mother loved this? And it was that moment.
Yeah.
It was that moment I went, yeah, nerd culture is not going to be the same ever again, because nerd culture is going to become pop culture. And now everyone and their dog goes to Comic-Con International in San Diego. It's become this huge event. The original one had 300 people. 300 actual nerds. now the industry shows up to show off every TV show and movie that they've got coming down the pipe that they think any fan somewhere potentially could like or will like, and it's just this mega event.
Yeah.
And that's not how it used to be. So I think accessibility is the real key to the explosion and transfer from nerd culture to pop culture.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that also has come down to. I mean, I definitely echo everything you just said for sure, Spencer. But also the rise of connection.
Yeah.
In terms of like the internet, like we've touched on previously, like the fact that when we were kids, you were kind of limited to just your circle, your circle of friends who you happen to find out. Okay, they're interested in some of the things that I'm interested in, that maybe nobody else is interested in. But then
Or you just curate them.
Yeah, you grow them,
Yep.
But then with the rise of the internet, you get to reach out farther than your circle. You get to reach out around the country. You get to reach out around the world, and you find out there are more people out there, like way out there, that love the same things that I love, and that as this collision of nerd culture and pop culture collide, and things have grown in terms of like social media channels and things like that, forums and things like Discord and all those things like that, where people can meet and connect and share this bond that they have. It's grown this greater connection to these things that people can be passionate about.
Mark,
And
I spent so much time on forums in the early days of the internet talking about things like Firefly and Star Trek and, Superman. Like, you pick it, and you're right. Like, I never would have found other browncoats, fans of the TV show Firefly, Serenity, like the movie that came later based on fan support. I never would have found those people if it wasn't for the internet and that accessibility. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Man, I totally connected with the internet idea when I actually went and watched Iron Man. I was like, who's Iron Man again? Like, I was one of those people that was just like, yeah, he's a C character. Yeah. And then I remember after watching Iron Man and going home and just started pouring through Wikipedia, pouring through forums. I love my Wikipedia. I mean, it gives you all the information.
Yeah.
True or false, it's good. Like, people spend some time, curating that like their friends.
Yeah.
And so I remember checking that out, and that for a lot of the superheroes, like, I used to read comics like very casually. Superheroes were pretty much like, my knowledge of superheroes that I enjoyed was based on cartoons, like the animated X-Men and some of the other ones that were out there at the time. But then I would read the comics sometimes on the side, like Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, those kind of things. And while we're in the superhero realm, Rogue Hoffa on the Discord, the GMG Discord, said, which superhero universe do you prefer, DC or Marvel? And then follow up, which is your favorite hero or villain? I call dibs on Mark. DC and Batman. The end.
Shows how much you know me, because you're right, it is.
All right, you do me.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Marvel, Spider-Man.
Well, that's where I was.
Do you
going,
even listen to me?
I do listen to you, but you're a fan of a lot of things, so
Just say Dead Cells.
But yeah.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells. DC or Marvel? Dead Cells.
Marvel and
DC, Dead Cells.
DC, Dead Cells.
No, definitely not DC. Boo. Yeah, I'm Marvel all the way.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. But yeah, I was definitely DC. Always been a Batman fan ever since I was little. I've talked many, many times on the show about that. But
yep.
Yeah. So Marvel and Spider-Man, Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly Marvel. I remember really liking Batman back in the Michael Keaton days, and then like Batman Returns. The movies really turned me on to Batman. I moderately enjoyed Superman 1, much to Ronnie's chagrin, he probably thinks that no one should enjoy Superman 1.
I love that Superman movie.
It's classic, right? Where he
classic.
goes back in time, like he spins around the Earth. That was mind-blowing
Save
when I
Lois
watched that
Lane.
movie the first time. I was
That
like,
and the-
man, what a power.
That and
And
they
then
set up
finding out-
General Zod and the Phantom
Yeah.
Zone at the very
Oh, yeah.
beginning to
So good.
come back in the second movie. Anyway, I love it.
Yeah, it was good stuff, and I really enjoyed that. But then as time went on, like I kind of fell away from the DC stuff. I found it personally to be darker than I enjoy in general. I know that there is lighthearted things about DC sometimes, but for the most part, I find it to be darker than Marvel. I like the colors. I feel like that Marvel characters are more human and easier to connect with as a person. So I really, I just enjoy Marvel. And I say Spider-Man is my favorite, but it's really, there are a bunch of them that I love. Like I got a man crush on Hugh Jackman when he became Wolverine. Like his portrayal of Wolverine and just the way he brought that character alive and made him more human and less feral than he was in the comics. In the comics, I mean, he was an animal. Yeah. And when they put him in the movies, Hugh Jackman brought some coolness to him, brought some humanity to him, and I really enjoyed that. So probably Spider-Man and Wolverine would be like my all-time two favorite characters. How about you, Spence?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to straddle the line here a little bit. I think if I didn't, I would be doing a disservice to who I truly am. I love Superman. I mean, I've got a Superman, tattoo on my arm. I named my podcast after a takeoff of the Fortress of Solitude with the Fortress of Nerditude.
No, it's the Nurtress of Fortitude.
Nurtress of Fortitude. Yes. I love Superman. However, in my opinion, DC's got the holy trinity of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And after that, I could care less about DC. I just really could care less. And it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in that order. And I didn't read a lot of Wonder Woman, although I really do like her. I like Princess Diana. I like her character. I like, a lot of her stories. But I didn't read a lot of it. But the comics that I read the most of as a kid, because we used to ride down to the little corner store, get candy, and get comics, was always Marvel. And it was always Spider-Man and then the Incredible Hulk. Those were the two. I read more Spider-Man comics than any other comic as a kid growing up. And I still occasionally buy some comic books on my tablet or my Kindle or my Surface, and I'll, flip through them and read them. But Spider-Man on the Marvel side, I'm a huge Marvel guy. I've read lots and lots and lots of Marvel comics over the years. But Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk are my number ones over there. But Superman on the DC side. If you said like pick one or the other, I couldn't. It would be like trying to choose between my children. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I love Marvel as well, and on the Marvel side, it would definitely be Spider-Man. Spider-Man has always been my favorite Marvel character for sure. I just a little bit more eke on the DC side.
I have a theory why most people identify with Spider-Man, and I think it's because Stan Lee is amazing, and he understood that at the time, every superhero was an adult. Was an adult that had a lot of their life together, had some sort of, look at Superman. He's an adult, he's a reporter, Clark Kent, and then he's also, Superman. Batman, right? He's this adult, once again. Same thing with everyone else. But at the time, he said, I'm going to write a teenager who's awkward and geeky, trying to go through school, trying to figure out dating, trying to figure out, pimples and homework, and how do you manage that while also being a superhero. And normally, kids are the ones that start reading comics. Teenage kids, preteen kids. And so it was easy for them to identify with that character because they saw a reflection of themselves. And I think that's why you hear so many people say, on the Marvel side, Spider-Man was their number one. What do you think about that, Pat?
Pat?
Yeah, I'm right there with you with DC. My favorite superhero of all time, I've said it before, is Superman.
Yep.
I have a Superman costume that I've worn on several occasions. Like I've worn it to MTTG 300 when we all met up in Nashville a couple years ago. I've worn that costume to the Batman v Superman premiere night. And my buddy, he wore the Batman suit. So it was fun. I love the Superman. The reason why I do like Superman is because he is like a very, very positive and hopeful superhero. Not only is it hopeful, but he's also like I get the why people don't like Superman, because he's all powerful. And all he changes in his appearance is the glasses come off, and the
hair and the
little,
hair
back
the
in
little
the day.
curly cue back in the day. Yeah.
I get it, but it's but besides that, I love when I was a kid, like who didn't want to have the ability to fly?
Oh yeah.
And that was what I've always hung on to. I've always wanted to fly. I still want to fly, and that's why I do love the Superman character. Always will. But on the Marvel side, like you, Spencer, it's kind of hard to pick, between one or the other. But when I was growing up, it was all Superman. But I really never knew anything about Marvel other than the movies. The Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi movies, and the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield. Yep. But I really didn't know anything about Marvel really until the Marvel universe started. I knew nothing about Iron Man. I knew nothing about Incredible Hulk other than Lou Ferrigno back in the day.
Oh, I love that. I love that show. Loved it.
Yeah. But if I were to pick my favorite Marvel superhero in the movie universe, because I'm not a comic book reader, I'm not an animated show watcher or anything. It's just basically the universe in the movies. Is Ant-Man.
Ooh.
And the only reason I like Ant-Man is Paul Rudd's character. As Hank, not Hank Pym.
No.
Scott Lang.
Scott Lang, yeah. Yeah, so his character is just comical, hilarious in almost everything that he does. The way he portrays that character as both his normal human character and a superhero character, I absolutely love. I think I've watched the Ant-Man movies more than I've watched any other movie besides Iron Man, because I love the way they started the universe with Iron Man, even though it was really started in Incredible Hulk. But do we really talk about that one?
Sorry, Edward Norton, you're not real. You're fake.
Yeah, just watch the last 1 minute of that.
Yeah, that's all you
Hulk
need.
movie,
The after
and
credit
then that's
scene.
when the
They should have just
that's
hooked
when
that
the
onto
universe
Iron
starts.
Man. All right. One last nerdy
Yeah.
question. I want to know, what's the nerdiest thing that you think you've ever done or gotten into?
Oh, I've already said it. I wore the Superman costume to a movie premiere.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That is super
pretty
nerdy.
nerdy.
That's going to Comic-Con without going to a con.
Right. You just wear the full suit.
Yeah.
All right.
Which was a good time. I got some high
Oh,
fives.
I bet you did,
People were
man.
just
You rocked it. I mean, I know when you went to
Yeah.
that junk or treat, you were, or trunk or treat, you were rocking it there too.
Yeah, because the Superman costume is a little small,
A
Spencer.
little tight.
A little bit small.
Snug.
So,
Yeah.
put two and two together.
All right. Were you guys able to think of something super nerdy you've done in the past?
I mean, I've belonged to a group that is all about cosplaying in Stormtrooper and Star Wars attire. I have my own Jedi outfit, lightsaber, belt, everything upstairs in my closet. So like I've done like cosplay stuff. I also for a few years ran a game group based on the Game of Thrones living card game. And that card game was literally based off of the book series, not any of the TV show. And so I've, for a few years, I ran a whole community of nerds that would show up at a gaming store, and we would play this competitive living card game. And so like I know all the ins and outs. Like I've actually done a lot of different things that you could say are extremely nerdy, but I think cosplaying before it was cool, before it was a thing, is definitely in one of the nerdier things I did back in the day. And then, gosh, when you run a whole community and you're kind of like the it person, I mean, this is that's pretty intense. That's not just your.
Oh yeah.
It's not
That's
a passing fancy. It's a commitment.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, how about you?
Oh, nerdiest thing I've done. The only thing that's coming to mind is like I actually try to create my own superheroes.
All right.
Like I've tried to design my own stuff and my own backstories and things like that.
I mean, is it better than Condiment Man? Because if it's better than
It's
Condiment
absolutely
Man,
better than
then...
Condiment. It's Condiment King, by the way.
Oh, Condiment
He's the
King.
king.
Sorry. Wish I were as big a nerd as you. Someday.
But I mean, yeah, just like from all the like midnight showings and things like that, where I would show up to movies like 3-4 hours early,
Yeah.
just to get a decent seat and all that kind of stuff, and which thankfully, obviously, right now nobody's really doing that for the most part, but but in my neck of the woods, they stopped doing the whole like waiting in line kinds of things.
Right.
You can reserve your seat now,
Right.
so that's nice. But yeah, definitely I've done the whole cosplay thing, collecting stuff. That's some of the nerdier things. Funny enough, I haven't been to a con yet.
Ooh.
I should probably
Yeah, me neither.
do
Yeah,
that.
you should.
Nice.
But yeah.
I have a picture with David Tennant, Mark, just so you know.
Ooh.
Oh.
And it's signed.
So my wife's friend in college, she did her doctoral thesis. I can't remember what it was, but it was something involving Doctor Who.
Oh.
She used that for her doctoral thesis, and she took her thesis, her paper, and had it signed by David Tennant.
Really?
Whoa.
Yes.
That is super nerdy. Getting your doctoral, like your thesis and
Your
all that
dissertation or whatever, yeah.
dissertation signed by Doctor Who.
Yep.
That's pretty cool and pretty nerdy.
Yep. And now I think she's a teacher in Poland.
Very cool.
But yeah.
I will say that I missed an opportunity more recently at the Rise of Skywalker premiere. I went to a theater here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and when we went at the midnight showing, and there were a variety of people wearing, a variety of like Star Wars paraphernalia, like these like half-baked cardboard cutouts. I made it in my basement costumes that were not professional whatsoever. I have a adult-sized Yoda costume, like it's pajamas, but it's like from head to toe. Like you have the ears coming out, you have the hoodie, you have the outfit, and I forgot I had that in my kid's closet, and I totally missed the opportunity. I could have worn that. I would have worn that, and I still regret that to this day. But the thing that I think of that I did that I feel pretty nerdy about is one summer during high school, I got into Magic the Gathering, like hardcore, building decks, going to those kind of dark, seedy comic book caves, caverns, like that are dimly lit, paneled, dark paneled walls, all 30 and 40-year-olds that are, they were like, I was a nerd before you were born.
Can I tell you that when I go to
little
those
kid.
places now, I open up the door and it's like a breath of fresh air hits me when I walk in. I'm like, yes, I am amongst my own.
Yeah,
I'm home. I love it.
I am with my own kind.
Yes. And they're like, welcome
Let me sing
home,
you the
Spencer.
song of my people.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I did not feel that way because they
Sure.
were like these large, bearded, greasy-looking guys that were just not very nice. Like, it was kind of like Elf, where it was just like, why does everyone look at me like they want to hurt me? Like,
Right.
So, but I was totally into Magic the Gathering. I bought some cards. I bought a bunch of packs, and like I had a small group of friends. We would just play Magic the Gathering at the pool, at my house, all over the place. And it lasted a summer. I kept my cards for a while, but it was pretty fun. I enjoy it. Now I see all these kids playing Magic the Gathering, playing, I'm blanking. What's the Blizzard card game? Hearthstone. Like, everybody playing it on their tablets and stuff. I'm like, that's not commitment.
Right. Yep.
You got to buy the physical cards and lay them out there. Build.
If you're not waiting every 6 or 8 weeks for the next chapter pack to drop, and you gotta pre-order because you want to make sure you don't miss out. I mean, I mean, we've come a long way. Nerd pop culture is so accessible, and I'm so happy that it is because it allows so many other people to get into things that we love. But there is a sense of loss of what it used to be and the struggle that it used to be. And like, it used to be a source of pride. You'd say, yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings guy. Yeah. And now it's like everyone can go see the movies, and the movies have been out for almost 20 years. You know, it's just, it's great that everyone can share in it, but the uniqueness of it is kind of lost.
Yep. All right. So one last question. This one comes from Barnaby Butterteeth. He aimed this one at you, Spencer. But since some of the things he mentions in it applies also to Mark, myself, and Patrick, we might chime in a little bit. But he says, now that you are a podcast and streaming celebrity, Spencer, what's the garbage and gold of guest starring in somebody else's podcast or stream?
Oh, gosh. Okay. The gold, I'll start with gold. The gold of starring in someone else's podcast, being a guest on someone else's podcast is, in my opinion, you get to like relax. Like I'm relaxing. We're having a good time. We're talking. We're being goofy. I'm harassing Mark because Mark's a friend of mine, and I love harassing my friends. If I'm not harassing you, that's a problem, right? But I get to just relax and be comfortable. When this is over, I'm going to send Pat a file and I'm going to walk away. I don't have to do the editing. I don't have to do all the prep work. I don't have to do all that. Yeah. It is huge. I'm putting out tomorrow episode 190 of my podcast. For 190 straight weeks, I've done research, editing, social media, trying to keep it, positive, trying to keep it entertaining. Like, it's a lot of work. So the gold is I just get to come in here, goof around, hopefully be somewhat entertaining, have a fun conversation. That's the gold of it. The garbage of it is, honestly, this is fun. And this is a guest spot. Like I get to walk on during the May sweeps of television and have a little guest spot, do my little thing, and then I go away and I don't get to see you guys and have fun conversations week after week after week together. That's the garbage. That's really the garbage of it, is that we're not going to be doing this next week and the week after and the week after. I would love to do that, but just I know how this goes and everything else I got going on. And if I tell my wife I've got another night that I need to be away from the family because I've got something else going on, I better go find that girlfriend. Yeah. So that's the garbage of it, is not being able to do it more often.
There's no better feeling to pretty much wash your hands after you upload your file. It is
the best.
Yep. There's just, it's so awesome. It's just a great feeling. Just like go to bed. You're like, I don't have to edit that.
I'm going to export this out. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to go down and get a McGriddle from McDonald's because I haven't had dinner yet. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch a little TV. I'm just going to relax. I know Pat's going to have to start going right to work on editing. So
yeah,
I feel your pain.
Mark's gonna go to bed.
I feel your pain, but I'm not gonna volunteer to help you.
But you've been on the other side.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
yep. It's true. Yeah, a quick shout out because I definitely relate to the garbage and gold you mentioned, Spencer. I was on the Infinity Bros podcast last week, and their episode 43, I think, just dropped. And Isaac Edlund, he's a friend of the show, a joiner. He's been on our show as a guest. He kind of did a quid pro quo and invited one of us, and I got the luck of the draw and was on their podcast. And I definitely recommend, not just because I guested on it, but I definitely recommend you guys check it out. Listen to that episode. Listen to their other episode. It's a group of guys that have known each other since college, and it is clear that they're the best of friends. Like, they rag on each other more than anybody I've hung out with since college, and they're a hoot. They're really funny. It was a great time to be with them, and you definitely feel that, Spence, where like I felt free as a bird. Like, I don't have to like pay attention to the time. I don't have to pay attention to, okay, what's next? How do I transition that or that?
That's because we've
Forget
probably
it.
blown past your timeline long ago.
Oh yeah, it'll be fine.
Well, yeah, we haven't gone this long, which is fine, which is totally fine. We haven't gone this long in ages.
Yeah, like since Endgame or something
but it's
like
totally
that.
fine because we were engaging in the conversation. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be fun to edit.
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, it's whatever. But yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Well, did you guys have anything else? Any last minute nerdy, cultured things to add to the discussion? Going once, going twice.
One more thing. Okay. No, I'm just teasing. That's why I was like, who's going to break first? Who's going to do
Steve
it?
Jobs.
So let's talk a little bit about, no.
No.
Here, I will say kind of in closing on this is that whatever you may find, whatever you may be interested in, if you're not super big into nerd culture or you don't think, you would be into it, there's so many things now that are like nerd / pop culture. If you're into something, you find something interesting, go online. I'm sure you can be able to find a community of like-minded people that would be interested in whatever you're interested in, and try new things out. You never know what you may end up enjoying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Get on Twitter. Follow some people that do the same nerdy things that
Yep.
you do or the interests you have. Check them out. Get on Discords, whether it's the Good Morning Guys Discord or the Fortress of Fortitude Discord. Check it out. All right. Well, I think that is all for this nerd cultured conversation. If you find joiners would like to connect with us beyond listening, as I mentioned at the top of the show, follow and chat with us on Twitter at the GMG Podcast or Discord. The link is in the our Twitter profile and show notes. We also do email, thegoodmorningguys@gmail.com for those 30-somethings and above. And Spencer, why don't you share with the joiners how they can get connected with you and nerd out with you on the Fortress of Nerditude.
You'll get it.
Almost there.
Nerditude.
Nice. You nailed it.
Yep.
Okay, so the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, we release every Thursday morning. We are a podcast that is about nerd and pop culture. We talk about everything from, Star Wars to Doctor Who, books, The Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, to Lord of the Rings. We talk about television, a little bit of everything. We do a movie review once a month. But you can find us on Apple Podcasts. I mean, I'm so used to calling it iTunes. Apple Podcasts, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and we're just Fortress of Nerditude. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Fort of Nerd. And then I'm also streaming on Twitch, and that's Fort of Nerd 79. It'll look really similar. All my theming is similar to the podcast because it's all kind of under one brand. So I hope you come over and give us a listen and laugh at my stupidity and shenanigans, because that's kind of what I do.
Nice. Well, if it's anything like tonight,
All about the shenanigans.
there will definitely be people laughing at you. Fantastic.
Oh, definitely people laugh at me. That's the idea.
All right. Oh, and the last thing I do not want to forget, if you want to be a wild and crazy guy or gal, call us at 929-GMG Guys. Leave a message, ask a question, let your voice be heard. And, of course, what else should be heard but none other than Marc's music playlist that can be found on Spotify and Apple Music. Marc, what you got for us?
Yes, sir. So obviously I was trying to pick songs along the theme of nerdiness and things like that. So the first song that I'm picking is a song from Weezer. It's a song called In the Garage, where they talk about D&D and all sorts of nerdy things like that. The second song I'm going to add is Weird Al Yankovic's White and Nerdy, because why not?
Nice.
Nice.
So I have left the third space open, and typically, Spencer, I know I am putting you very much on the spot right now.
Yeah.
Typically, we reserve that spot, and it does not have to be nerd-centric.
I got it.
It can be... Okay, you got it? All right, what do you got?
Misty Mountain Hop by Led Zeppelin. It literally is a rock band from the 70s. They talk about Lord of the Rings in it. It's amazing.
That's a solid pick.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like that.
Nice.
So, I hope those songs, including Spencer's pick, help you get your good morning on.
Yes, and if you're not sure how to find that GMG music playlist, I think there are some links somewhere, or you can type in the search bar, the Good Morning Guys music playlist.
It's the Good Morning Guys morning playlist on
Okay.
Spotify.
The Good
You can
Morning
just type
Guys
that in.
morning playlist. Do not listen to it in the afternoon, evening, or night.
Not allowed. It's not allowed.
No. Morning.
Listen, we use that term liberally here anyway.
We do. It's morning somewhere.
It's morning somewhere, right? Yeah, Lucas has got it.
Exactly. We were synced in there.
Yep.
All right. Well, next week, Ronnie will be bringing our topic. Ronnie, what are you going to be talking about? Pat, you can just add in like Ronnie's voice or something, right? Like edit it in.
Yeah, I'll just find where he says I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
and then I'll
And
just
just
put it
add
in.
that in. 'Cause that's pretty much what he would say anyways. Fantastic.
You just put him saying hi.
Yep.
I don't know.
Good morning for high, which that could go many different ways. All right, good. Glad we covered that. All righty then. Mark, Pat,
Of which we want to go.
and Spencer, along with you, our beloved friends, family, and joiners. Go get your good morning this week, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, and as you game.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, did we explain to Spencer, or do you do the Mark
Spencer's
thing? 1, 2, 3,
podcast
Mark.
before. We're gonna do 1 through 3 Mark. He knows how it works.
Wait, what are we doing? how does this work?
What are we on now?
Podcast? I just thought we were doing a Zoom call with worship music. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Okay, sorry.
Yep, that's
It's all
it.
good.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
don't
good.
use all the energy up. Hopefully you got plenty of it. All right.
Have you met me, man?
No.
We will be fine.
No,
This is the first
officially
time we've
no.
literally met each other.
Keeping me quiet might be the problem. All right.
It's all good.